from PRX.
Friends beyond the binary, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome to Sleep With Me. Tonight we're going to take a dreamy visit to a Vermont inn. That technically, I think, is a bed and breakfast. They have beds. They do serve breakfast. I don't think they did in season 1. But when Stephanie's working there, they're serving food, which I know in other episodes was breakfast. Here's a question right away. Welcome to Sleep With Me, by the way. It's a confusing, meandering podcast to keep you company and trying to help you fall asleep by being your friend in the deep, dark night, your goofy friend. If it's a bed and breakfast, is breakfast always included? I mean, I think so, right? So I guess I answered my own question, which happens a lot here, but I'm glad you're here. If you've been having trouble sleeping, staying asleep, getting to sleep, waking up, I've been there. So have a lot of other people that are listening right now. And we're all hoping this podcast can help you out, but it doesn't help you out so much by putting you to sleep or meditating you to sleep or hypnotizing you. It helps you out in a much more traditional way. One, it's kind of like a bedtime story for grown-ups. Kids could listen to it, but kids tend to, I don't know. I find that adult bedtime stories kind of need to ease you into bedtime. Versus a kid, you're like, yeah, hurry. How about this? I'll answer a couple questions. I'll tell you a story. Fall asleep already. I'm kidding, but maybe not. I don't know. I'm not, but so why is it a bedtime story? Why do you keep going on and on and on? When does this show? Well, this is more like talking to a friend you don't need to listen to. Imagine that I'm a friend, or maybe somebody you say, I don't know if I want to be friends with you. Okay, imagine I'm here as a service, and I'm here to just talk for your benefit, but you don't need to listen to me. Kind of like turning the TV on in the other room and not really paying attention to it. Something that's mildly entertaining. And tonight we'll be talking about, this is an episode called Dreaming of Newhart, where we kind of do a dreamy TV recap of a sitcom, but it ends up kind of being, it's something you could just barely listen to or barely pay attention to, or you could kind of follow. So I'm really glad you're here. If you're new, if you're a regular listener, welcome back. It's always good to see you and have you here and to try to help you with something that I dealt with last night. So I'm glad you're here. If you're new, what we got coming up, support. So paying for the show is optional. Then separate from the support is a long meandering intro here to ease you into bedtime. And then later on, about 20, 25 minutes in the show, we'll start talking about Newhart. And then ideally you get drifted off in dreamland, but we kind of ease you there. I guess I don't know if I have I have the patience to put an adult to sleep slowly. Is this irony or a paradox? But I just realized this. I don't have the patience to put a child to sleep quickly, but I do have the patience to slowly ease adults into bedtime. Or maybe it's just I'm better at that. I can tell kids bedtime stories in person. My own daughter and my siblings' children, but it is a totally different game because you're like, no. Like, there's this thing. It was a bubble. What was its name? A bubble. Are all bubbles named Bubble? Okay, just listen. Can you? Yeah. In this world, they are. This was called the Bubbles World of Bubbles. And the bubbles were all shiny. Were there any non-shiny bubbles? There were, but actually, believe it or not, kid, I'm trying to start an adult podcast where I am patient, for the listeners. In a different context, I could be patient for you, but I'm here for, if you're a kid listening to this show, I'm here to ease you into bedtime too. And again, it's a niche. Like there may be kids that that do listen to this show nowadays. But I guess it's just two different skills. But I never realized that I actually am patient with you, my dear listener. So I'm glad you're here. And if you're new, this show does take some getting used to, which you may have already figured out. So, thanks for checking the show out. And here, if we do this together, by listeners who support the show directly, support our sponsors, support me with kindness. That's what enables me to be here to support you, too. So I'm really glad you're here. And here's a couple ways we're able to do it for you twice a week. Sleep With Me podcast is brought to you by Progressive Insurance. Fiscally responsible, financial geniuses, monetary magicians. These are the things people say about drivers who switch their car insurance to Progressive and save hundreds. Visit Progressive.com to see if you could save. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. Potential savings will vary. Not available in all states or situations. All right, everybody, it is time to talk about tonight's sponsor, and it's the bed I've been sleeping in year after year after. You've been hearing me talk about Helix mattresses for years. Here's a question. Have you taken the Helix quiz? Okay, we'll take it right now. Go to helixsleep.com/sleep and take the Helix Sleep quiz, because you deserve a mattress made for you and how you sleep, your feel preferences. What do you need, right? Did your mattress ever ask you that? And I can say that because my mattress is right in the other room. It says, yeah, Scoots, actually, before we even met, I asked you, hey, do you sleep on your side? Do you sleep on your stomach? Do you sleep hot? Do you sleep cold? What firmness do you like? What else do I need to know? Talk about the foundations of a relationship that lasts a long time. You know, you could tell your mattress, tell it right now, you're in bed, right? Say, I got needs. I need you to meet my needs. And it's something that's going to improve your sleep, improve your days, improve how your body feels. Because when you have a mattress that's right for you, it makes your life better. It's a simple thing. That's what Helix has been all about. That's why we've been partnering with Helix year after year after year. But more importantly, every single night, I'm in my Helix bed. So it's time for your mattress to start caring about you and your needs, right? So how do you do that? Well, Helix has got your needs in mind, too. Go to helixsleep.com/sleep for early access to their Memorial Day sale. That's 27% off site-wide, plus a free bedding bundle. That includes a sheet set and a mattress protector with any Luxe or Elite mattress order. This offer is exclusive for listeners of Sleep With Me. That's helixsleep.com/sleep. For this exclusive early access offer, 27% off site-wide plus a free bedding bundle. It's a sheet set and mattress protector with any Luxe or Elite mattress order. And again, that's helixsleep.com/sleep. Thanks to everybody. Hey, everybody, this is Scoots, and you might think you're the only person listening right now, and you might be right. You might be the only person hearing me right now and paying attention, and that makes it very important. It makes you very important. I mean, I always treat the show like a one-listener show, right? I'm here to put you to sleep. When I'm going through the show, when I'm trying to stay calm, when I put my regular day life aside to record these episodes, I'm thinking of you, the one person the show works for. But if you're hearing me right now, not only am I here for you, but I could use your help, really. We're asking 1,500 of our 20,000 super listeners. Those are people that listen all night long, people who fall asleep very fast, people that listen night after night after night, people who've listened for years, people whose lives the show has changed, and the podcast is an ongoing part of your life. Those are the people we're counting on right now to support the show. So it can be here in 3 months, so it can be here in 6 months, so it can be here in a year or two. And it is up to you, really. Like, so if you're going to put it off, if you're like, yeah, maybe somebody else will do it, think twice about doing that. I mean, not only that, like, you get the best way to listen to the show, especially if you listen all night long. Ad-free episodes, story-only episodes, tons of other stuff. But you also get the feeling you're a part of the show, being here, existing in the world, because it only exists because the people say, hey, this helps me. How can I help it back? This is a valuable part of my life. And when you do that, when you support the show, just at the value, whatever tier or whatever you decide works for you, it supports the show for all those other people. Think about that. All we need is 1,500 of the 20,000 people who benefit the most from the show to support the show back. And then 18,000 plus people who benefit the most, and hundreds of thousands of people who just need the podcast for a few weeks or a few months. People who are suffering in the deep, dark night will benefit because you say, I just want to give back for what the show brought me. And then it gets multiplied. But here's the thing. I can't keep doing it beyond July. If we don't get the support, I'm not sure what's going to happen. So I need to get that message through to you if you're listening and you're hearing me. Don't put this off. If you already say, yeah, the podcast makes my life better, of course I'm willing to support it and give back. Don't say, but maybe, I'm pretty comfortable right now. I know that's asking a lot, but you could do that at sleepwithmepodcast.com/plus. Oh, Mystery Bard, a lot of people help out on the show. Who are they?
Chris Posty Poster Son sounds like an earful. Wrote the theme song. Carl W. the Legend. Also edits episodes. Ashley, Kenny, Scotty, Jennifer. Runner. Eric and the team at Astound are on the website. I am the Mystery Bard. I do the lullabies, yeah. I do commissions at jonathanmann.net. I'll write a song for you. Any reason at all. You can tell me the story and I'll make it personal. You see the kindness shine straight on through when the listeners form their own Facebook group. Keith, Stacy, Sarah, Julie, and Jennifer. These are your moderators. Get support, dear Scooter, on Patreon. Buy the merch and support the sponsors. You can find anything you want at sleepwithmepodcast.com. And we're so proud that we could dance. Rusty Biscuit, Lois, Anna like banana. Leah does the transcripts.
Thanks, Mystery Bard. And don't forget, the most comfortable way to listen to Sleep With Me is with sleep phones. You can get Sleep With Me merch, Sleep With Me branded sleep phones at sleepwithmepodcast.com/sleep phones. And use Sleep With Me at checkout to get $5 off your order. The only way you can get the Sleep With Me merch editions is sleepwithmepodcast.com/sleep phones. Thanks, everybody. What do you say we slow it down and get on with the show? Hey, are you up all night tossing, turning, mind racing, trouble, getting to sleep, trouble staying asleep? Well, welcome. This is Sleep With Me, the podcast that puts you to sleep. We do it with a bedtime story. All you need to do is get in bed, turn out the lights, and press play. I'm going to do the rest. And what I'm going to attempt to do is create a safe place where you can set aside whatever's keeping you awake. That could be thoughts on your mind, things you're thinking about, thoughts about the past, the present, the future. Things you're thoughts. I have a lot of them. It could be feelings, physical sensations. So anything emotionally coming up for you or physically coming up for you. Last night, I think I was getting, I had a triple, that's not a triple word score. I don't know if I've ever had a triple word score. I have dyslexia, so people don't quite get it when I say, no, I'd rather not play Scrabble. And I would love to be like triple word score or whatever. I could only do that with words that have 2 or 3 letters, though, and I don't know what your options are. I don't even know how triple word score works. Is that like if you're using a compound? I don't know. But a triple nighttime score is when it's thoughts, feelings, and physical sensations all at once. And 1 is more than enough for me, or I'd prefer 0, right? So it could be one of those things, those areas of things that are keeping awake. It could be changes in time, temperature, routine. You could be traveling. You could have guests. You could be anticipating something. You could be going through something. You could have a different work schedule. The reason I run through that is so you get a sense you're not alone. Maybe that's a better way to put it. I've tried to find ways to say it, but it's like having a sense you're not alone. Because I don't want to, infringe on your space, right? And say, well, you're not alone. You say, well, technically, I don't know, because I don't like it being infringed upon in that way either. And I don't like performance pressure. That's why a lot of the other stuff that's supposed to help you fall asleep doesn't work for me, because it involves this like subtle performance pressure to me that I'm projecting onto the content, not that the content is necessarily requiring that. But for me, it's like, well, what do you mean? I got to imagine a magical armoire where my inner child's toys are stored. I mean, I guess I could do that, but it wouldn't. Then I'd be like too distracted, and then I'd be like, well, what if this person who's narrating it? What are they going to think about my magical armoire? Because I say, well, what does it look like? Well, no, I'm more concerned with what the magic could do for me, and what toys does it magically create new toys? I guess if you could remind me, maybe this is an episode we could do one day. Yeah, magical armoire. I can't text myself, so hopefully I'll remember it, because it does sound interesting. What was my point? No, I'm here to make things feel less lonely in the deep, dark night. Something about performance pressure makes me feel lonely, or something about not being able to sleep. Like last night, my dog Co was right nearby, but I still just couldn't. I did eventually get to sleep, and then I woke up like an hour later, and I went through all that stuff. And I know how that feels for me, and that's just one piece of it, right? But I want you to know you're welcome here, and that there's other people here listening right now in parallel with you or in sync with you that are really hoping you could fall asleep, and that this show can help you out. Now, this podcast does not work for everybody, so just give it a few tries and see how it goes. But I really hope it can help you. And so do a lot of regular listeners, because you deserve a good night's sleep. You deserve a bedtime you don't have to dread. You deserve a bedtime where you're getting the rest you need and you can relax and ease into sleep, so that your life is more manageable tomorrow. Most of the time, even for me, like I follow all the stuff and I have a nice bedtime routine. But there's sometimes it's just like it doesn't necessarily work all the time. But I kind of want to help you with your relationship with that. Like the whole idea of the show is that you have this one thing, like an ally, I guess in this case, or a boar bud is how we call it, a boar friend, to be there to help you out in the deep, dark night. So, that's why I kind of go through all that stuff. The way the show works is I send my voice across the deep, dark night. I use lulling, soothing, creaky, dulcet tones, pointless meanders, and superfluous tangents. So that means I go off topic, I get mixed up, I forget what I was talking about, then I ponder, then I repeat myself. My voice is not traditionally soothing. Like if you're new, like your voice, you say, I don't think that you got the voice for, I mean, I get like to put people to sleep. I say, yeah, I'm not really here to put you to sleep. I'm here to be your friend and talk to you. I'm here. I have a forgettable voice, a voice that's not bad. You say, your voice is not bad, but I mean, it's nothing like, your voice would not be considered buttery or melodious. And I say, it's creaky dulcets. You got that right. Because I'm more like well, you wouldn't want a creaky friend at bedtime. But we've been calling them creaky dulcets for years because, that's what my voice is like. And it's not traditionally soothing because it's not supposed to be. It's like, oh, that's my friend, my imperfect friend that I barely have to listen to. Like, it's almost like if you had two imaginary friends. You say, the cool one that I play with, and then there's the one that puts me to sleep. I could fill that role. This may be a new invention we're coming up with right now, a secondary imaginary friend. The person would be like, your son's been telling me about his secondary imaginary friend. I'm a bit concerned. Oh, no, it's great. It's just like a friend that he kind of Well, shouldn't he be working on his active listening skills with his imaginary friend? Well, he is actually during the day, but at bedtime, he's got his other imaginary friend. It's actually a podcast, by the way. It's not like, it's a podcast. Yeah, it's called it's called Sleep With Me, but if you read in between the words, it's secondary imaginary friend. It's the imaginary friend you don't need to listen to. And you just kind of barely listen because they go on and on and on and on and on. So what else do you need to know? Most people, when they get to the show, they're skeptical, they're doubtful, they're frustrated. You don't necessarily need to like me, and you may never like me or the show, and that's all fine. And it's actually good. I mean, some people get here without skepticism or doubt, and that's cool too. And some people like me right away, or they say, oh, I get the nature of the show. But you don't need to, because it's my job to kind of see if this is going to work for you. So all I ask is you give it 2 or 3 tries. Or if you're 100% sure right now, just go to sleepwithmepodcast.com/no thank you. I think even no thanks even works, but like that has other sleep podcasts and sleepy stuff on there. Because you still deserve a bedtime that you could get the rest you need so your life is a little bit more manageable. So, what's my point in there? Most people don't like the show. Like at first, it takes 2 or 3 tries. That's what most people that support the show on Sleep With Me Plus said. Hey, at first I didn't like you, and I didn't come back for a year. Or I gave it 2 or 3 tries, and then a 3rd try, I realized, oh, he's serious about being he takes his job as secondary imaginary friend. It's like, no, you're my plan A imaginary friend. He's my plan B. He's not a backup imaginary friend. He's a niche imaginary friend. I mean, why, like, maybe this could be a whole new area of imaginary friendship, niche imaginary friends. I guess we've gotten 2 new Sleep With Me episodes out of this, but I don't even remember what they are because I used to text myself when I thought of like when the intro and the idea came up in the intro, but now my phone's recording it. So, niche imaginary friends. I like it. I don't know what the other one was, but whatever. Well, you'll let me know. Thank you. So, yeah, if you don't like me, just give it a few tries, see how it goes, or check out sleepwithmepodcast.com/no thank you. But the people that the show works for, it was kind of always a surprise to them, even when it works for you right away. Say, whoa, somebody made something like this? They've been doing it for over a decade, and I had no idea it was out there, and I didn't even know I was looking for it until I found it. I mean, I guess that's what you say about yourself. You say, man, I had no idea I could have a secondary imaginary friend that's only good for specific, like, what if you had one, here's what I could have used, an imaginary friend that didn't tell me what to do forcefully, but that somehow, I guess this would be more of a magical imaginary friend, they followed the rules, and they could explain it to me in a way that kind of like helped put me at ease, and they said, well, this is why you have to raise your hand when you're called. Like, I said, oh, okay. It's not that big. I know you want to rebel against that, but you could, well, I'll just raise my hand for us, and I'll show you how. Like, that'd be cool. So I don't know. Like maybe in the future we'll have extra imaginary friends. Okay. So getting distracted here, but that's my job. So most people don't like the show. That's one thing. 2, this is a podcast you can just barely listen to. I think we kind of covered that. Like a TV on in the other room, like out of focus picture, like some audio you're listening to, but you're not quite engaged with, you're not quite paying attention to, but it's distracting enough to put you at ease, to calm down something. I don't know. That's just been my experience with stuff like this, and that's why I make this show. To say, oh, okay, well, I'm kind of listening to that, and it kind of makes me feel not bad. So but it does take some getting used to because we have so much pressure during our day to have active listening and whatever, pay attention, right? I'm not here to compete for your attention. I'm here to like barely gain your attention, to barely engage you, or only to have a little bit of it. So yeah, like a bit like misdirection, but I'm not that good at that, you know? Also, this is a sleep podcast, and this goes along with it. I'm not here to put you to sleep. There is no pressure to fall asleep with this show. No pressure at all. That's why the shows are over an hour. That's why we put out so much content in a variety of styles, but in a consistent tone and manner, is so you don't have to worry about falling asleep. You don't have to be like, is the episode over in 20 minutes, or do I have to be asleep in 30 minutes? No. I could be here all night long if you need me, because there's no pressure to fall asleep. If you can't sleep at all and you need something to listen to, you need a break. You woke up like I did last night after an hour and a half, wide awake, and you need someone there for you. That's what I'm here to do, but not in a way to keep you up either, just to put you at ease and distract you from the stuff, I don't know, the other stuff. So yeah, if you need a break during the day, or if you're not listening, like I'm here to the very end, whether you're awake or asleep, whether you're listening to me or not. And that's kind of what ends up working. And that's the job of a bore friend, a bore bae, a bore sib, a bore bud, a bore bee, a bores, a neighbor, a bore burr, a borloff, a boreman and chairman of the boards, or a boreman of the board. I was chairman of the board. But I realized I was calling myself Borman for whatever 2 or 3 years. I just realized that now. Borcuz, Borbra, your best bore friend forever. But for right now, I don't have to be your best bore friend forever. I just like saying it. It amuses me because it catches the tone of the show. So yeah, that's what I'm here to do. To help you out in the deep, dark night, if I can. The only other thing I want to let you know about is the structure of the show. I've been doing the show a long time, and we're always open to feedback. If you want to get a hold of me, the contact form at our website's the best way to do so. But our goal is to like put out stuff on a regular basis, do the best we can. It takes a team of people to do this, and to be there for you, right? And the way most people like to listen to the show, they like to listen to an ad-supported version they don't pay for, in a linear fashion, like in order. And a lot of people use a sleep timer, or let the episode end, like their podcast player stops playing after one episode. Now, that doesn't mean there's a wrong way to listen to the show, but that's what we keep in mind with this free ad-supported version. So the show starts off with, all our shows ideally start off with a greeting, because that's important to make you feel welcome. And so you say, oh, okay, I think I could check that show out. Then there's support so that you don't have to pay for the show. But if you prefer something without support, or you just believe in what we're doing, then you could support the show. But if you prefer to listen to an ad-supported version, that's what we strive to do, right, is you have an option. Then after that support is a long, meandering intro, about 15 to 25 minutes long. And I'll explain what the purpose is, but if you prefer something without intros, we have a podcast, Bedtime Stories from Sleep with Me. Or, yeah, if you support the show, you also get access to tons of story-only content, as well as full ad-free, as well as other kinds of more like remixed versions of the show, based on if you have it like having a variety of ways to listen. So, but the intro also goes on and on and on, not just to explain what the podcast is, not just because I feel like it has to be different every time. There should be a new intro for every episode, ideally. That it should follow a familiar path and structure, but be surprising, so that, I don't know, variety is one of the things I think that's not just a spice of life. It's what distracts whatever keeps me awake. And this is true, even with my bedtime routine and stuff like that. If I try to, I got to keep it I don't know, both those things, consistent and familiar, but also have some sort of variety. So I don't know, but some people prefer repetition. So some people listen to one episode over and over and over again, and that's cool too. But the intro also serves, like, the reason it's 15 to 25 minutes long is to ease you into bedtime while you're getting ready for bed, while you're winding down, or while you're in bed getting comfortable. There are a few percentage of people that fall asleep during the intro. Or, yeah, like I said, people prefer story-only episodes. If you listen all night long, this may not be the best version for you. But it is like it is a popular way to listen. But you'll kind of figure that out. If you're new, just kind of see how this version goes, and then you could try on the other versions of the show, or use your podcast app, to adjust to how you want to listen via playlists and changing the settings in your podcast app. That's why I love making a podcast. And again, podcasts kind of move beyond that, but in a podcast app, the audio is very adjustable. But that's why the intro goes on and on and on, is to ease you into bedtime. Then again, there'll be some support so that you don't have to pay for the podcast if you don't want to. And then there'll be our bedtime story. Tonight will be a Dreaming of Newhart episode. It's a very different kind of TV recap episode where we look at the sitcom Newhart through the lens that it was a dream held by the main character of the Bob Newhart show. And what does that mean? What does each episode mean in that context? We don't actually find out the meaning so much as ramble about it and see what AI dream interpreter will say. So it's kind of silly. I think this is our last episode in Dreaming of Newhart for a little while, just because the platforms it was on changed. This is in January 2025 when I'm recording this. You'll be listening to this in the spring, but we can return to it too later in 2025 or 2026 too. Let me know if you love these kind of episodes, because it's important for your positive voice to be heard. If you really like something, it's good for me to know that. And then we'll do our best to see what's possible. But what's mainly possible, and what I'm mainly here to do, is just keep you company and be here for you as a goofy friend who's talking not about nothing, but about nothing that's really that important. So I'm glad you're here. I work really hard. I yearn and I strive. I really want to help you fall asleep. And thanks so much for coming by. And a team of people work on this show because we yearn and strive. We really want to help you fall asleep. So thanks again for coming by. And here's a couple of ways we're able to do this for you regularly. Thanks. Hey, everybody, this is Scoots. If you got a second to actually listen to me, I know you're winding down. You're already listening to the intro. I do want to thank you for being a regular listener to the show and listening to what I'm saying right now. But if you're hearing this, I want you to ask yourself, does sleep with me make your life better? And has it made your life better regularly, consistently? If the answer to either one of those is no, like you're new or you're just listening, or you've only been listening for a couple weeks or whatever, don't worry about it. Or if you only think you're going to need the podcast for the next couple weeks because you got a test coming up or you're in the middle of some kind of loss or work schedule change, don't worry about it. I'm only talking to the super listeners, people who listen all night long, people who fall asleep very, very fast, people who listen night after night after night after night, people who've listened for years. Like, the podcast is a part of your life. I'm asking for your help. Actually, it's not help. It's just like paying the value back that the show brings to your life so we can keep it going. So your assistance, I don't know what the right word is, because we need about 1,500 of the 20,000 super listeners to support the show back through Sleep With Me Plus. You get ad-free episodes, early episodes, bonus episodes, story-only episodes. It's built on how super listeners listen to the show, because there's all these different podcasts with different styles of episodes, and it's really easy to organize, build your playlist, listen how you want to listen. Particularly all-night listeners or people that listen to a lot of episodes. But more importantly, it's the peace of mind. Like you'll have the comfort of not just knowing the podcast will be here for you, but for other people. You're comforting and helping other people have some relief in the deep, dark night. Does that matter to you? Or does it just matter to you like, I want to I'm planning on listening for the next 6 months, or I've listened for the past 18 months. Support the show. When it stops making your life better, cancel your support, but definitely. But if it's a yes, do not wait because, we really need your support right now. This is an unprecedented time for the podcast, and I want to be here in 6 months. I love making this show, and I love the stories I hear from people who either aren't in a position to support the show or just won't support the show. They take action. They take their time. Even the people that aren't nice, they're so invested in the show. It's impacted their life so positively. They want to take action, whether it's just to share their story because they can't afford to support the show, they're not in a position to, or they just have strong non-positive feelings. They overcame whatever objections it was, and they did something. And that's always been the biggest challenge of the podcast. Is so effective. But right now I got to break through that effectiveness, right? To get your attention and just tell you, the one person that's hearing me and listening right now, that if and only if you can afford it, the podcast makes your life better at one of the tiers we offer at sleepwithmepodcast.com/plus. Like maybe you even get tenfold value. Support the show. And as soon as the podcast isn't helping you anymore, or you move on, don't support the show anymore. Or try it out with a free trial and see what you think. And you can do that at sleepwithmepodcast.com/plus. Sleepwithmepodcast.com/plus. It'll be helping plenty of people. Thanks. Everybody, welcome to Dreaming of Newhart. This will be the last episode of Newhart for Dreaming of Newhart for a little while. We're taking a break. Usually we take a break after a certain number of episodes anyway. But also went off of streaming. So here in the U.S. at least. So it's a good time to take a break. And we're going to be changing around like the stuff out. We do it in the summertime anyway. So, I hope you enjoy this series. And hopefully we'll be back at some point in the future. If this is your first episode, don't worry. I'll tell you what you basically need to know. And then you could catch up on the other episodes or sleep through them whenever you want. Dreaming of Newhart is a TV recap, a dream interpretation series, which I don't know, hasn't necessarily been done before, or it needs to be done outside of this. But so Bob Newhart, the great comedian and actor who crossed the Rainbow Bridge not too long ago, he had a sitcom in the 60s, 70s. I'm not good with nice, probably the 70s, called The Bob Newhart Show. And then in the 80s, he had a sitcom called Newhart. And when Newhart concluded its run, the final episode kind of made it clear that the whole series of Newhart was a dream had by the character. So Dick Loudon was who Bob Newhart played in Newhart. And Robert Hartley is who Bob Newhart played in The Bob Newhart Show. Talk about perfect for a sleep podcast, right? And so it's not a theory. This isn't like an internet. This was before the internet. On the show, at the end, they said, it was like, this was all a dream had by Robert Hartley from the Bob Newhart Show. He dreamed of all the seasons of Newhart. So we look at through that lens as if Robert Hartley is meeting with someone whose voice sounds a lot like mine, discussing his dreams and also using an AI assistant for dream interpretation, which results in multiple layers of randomness and confusion. So if you're confused already, you're in the right place. So, yeah, without further ado, I'm going to turn things over to Robert and the dude he works with. Hey, Bob, come on in. I know we're going to take a break from working together. I know you feel like we go like, I just like to talk about my dreams. Okay, Bob. Yeah, let's get right into it then. Yeah, so the dream, I'll be honest, I had a long week, and I have no idea why how this dream I've been having could be connected to it. But, it has been, I do want to say it's been great working together and trying to get a sense. I think I really enjoy having a repetitive dream of being a Vermont innkeeper. And I really, part of the reason I just don't want to lose that, I understand, Bob. But you don't have, do you have repetitive dreams like this? Not as developed as yours, Bob, no. Yeah, so, but yeah, this week, so I guess I'm excited. The reason I'm rushing to get into my dream is just because this week was so full of growth opportunity, personally and professionally. And so, but I had this dream, I can't connect it at all. Okay, Bob, why don't you tell me about the dream you had? Okay, so the dream started as with, Joanne, my wife, in my dream. And we were in the inn having breakfast. Everybody, anyway, I don't want to get into, but so my wife was telling me that I needed to eat my figs. At first, it was quiet, right? It was just the whole staff was eating breakfast together. But I had hidden my figs under my pancakes. And my wife said, you got to eat your figs. And everybody said, got to eat your figs, Dick. Who doesn't eat their figs? They're great they taste great and they're great. And I said, I don't want to eat figs. Never had them, never want them. No, thank you. And I didn't like the pressure at all. And I just then all of a sudden Kirk comes in breathless. And we thought he was joking around because he said, oh boy, I'm so tired, I'm so out of breath. And so we said, what are you out of breath about? He said, my cafe. Then he started singing the song, Don't Cry Out Loud. I want to say it's by Laura Branigan, but I don't think it is. I think, but I don't know who sings it, but, and he kept saying that, and then he was talking about that livestock had gotten loose in he runs a cafe gift shop, called the Minuteman Cafe. And he said livestock got loose in his cafe while he was out, I don't know what he was doing, if he was, when he wasn't paying attention or wasn't there, and they ran around his cafe, ate everything, knocked everything over, used it like a WC. And we said, wow, it sounds terrible, Kirk. You can see why you're out of breath. But don't worry, we'll help you get this resolved and fixed. And pretty sure he said, I don't know what I'm going to do. We said, well, you could start with calling people and then getting things cleaned up. Then a honeymooner showed up at inn, which is pretty common. And they wanted, the honeymooner, the gentleman wanted to carry the wife up the stairs. And he did. And my wife in the dream said, how come you don't do that? And I said, well, I'm a pragmatist. That's why I don't do it. Then someone came in the inn who was supposed to help Kirk with his livestock thing. And he wanted to know what I knew about the livestock getting loose in Kirk's cafe. Because he was like, yeah, we cover this kind of stuff, so we should be able to get him compensated and his place cleaned up. But then all I could do is talk in tongue twisters. It was so strange. I kept saying fib, flub, fib. It had fig on my brain too. Fig, fib, flub, flubber, flipper, flapper, fluffer nut or something over and over again. And the guy said, are you here? Are you going to help me with Kirk or what? And then every time I tried to speak to him, I just said stuff like that. That was like my tongue was twisted by fib, fig, flub. And then the guy said, forget it. I guess you're not going to help your friend. You're too busy fib flubbing. Then the guy with the newlyweds kept carrying one another around the inn. Then then it was another dream about having breakfast, or part of like we're having breakfast again. And it was like, okay, if you don't eat figs, you got to have oats. And I was very frustrated, but I was willing to try it. And then Kirk shows up. He's like, what happened, man? You were supposed to, why were you talking? Can you talk to me right now? And I said, I can talk to you right now. And he said, how come when the guy that was supposed to help me get compensated for my cafe showed up, you only talked to, you said, and Kirk pulled up his face, he said, fib, fig, flub, flubber. And I said, no, I said fig, fibber, flub, fluffer, I believe. And he said, well, why would you do that? And I said, I don't know. It's just I couldn't say any other words other than words that started with F. And he said, I can think of some words that, I'm frustrated with you factually. And I said, oh, well, those are words, but they're not like tongue twister words. And he said, I can't believe this, man. They're trying, the guy said, if that's what your neighbors are like, I don't know if we should help you. Maybe you should relocate. And I said, well, is there any way I can help you now? I'm sorry. And he said, yeah, they want to take me down to their office, where they're going to have me wear this magical robe and hat. And they said that'll give them insight into how because they still want to know how the livestock got into my store. And I don't know. So I'm happy to go down there. So why don't you come with me? Because I don't feel like I don't feel like if I can't find a parking spot, then I'll be and I said, okay, I'll drive you down there. So we went down there, and then they said, yeah, this is his magical robe and hat. And we're going to put it on you, give us insight into what happened. And then that should get everything resolved. And then they did it on Kirk, and they said, this is magic. There's some sort of something blocking our magic. Or maybe our magic's inoperable. And Kirk said, I got no idea, what you're talking about. And they said, are you sure you're not a magic user? He said, I'm sure. And then they said, sir, could you try it out just to see, what's going on? And I said, I guess so. If it helps my buddy, that's fine. So they had me wear it. And then I started mewing like a cat, I think, or I don't know, but it seemed to work on me. And then they said, well, okay, well, we still don't know how the livestock, the one catch is we need to know how the livestock got into your cafe so we can prevent it, take preventative measures. And are you sure you didn't leave the door open, Kirk? And he said, no, I'm sure I didn't leave the door open. And they said, well, as far as we know, no livestock have opposable thumbs. And he said, what does that have to do with anything? And they said, well, the only way to get into a cafe is with opposable thumbs, unless your door is wide open. And Kirk said, I don't need magic to tell me that. And they said, okay, well, we're going to keep looking into it. Why don't you head on out? And Kirk, when we head out, he goes, we got to get to the bottom of the stick. He goes, somebody's putting livestock in my store. Now, I know Kirk, so I said, are you sure you didn't leave the door open? And he said, I'm 100% almost positive. And I said, well, that's what were you blocking their magic? And he goes, no, he goes, I'm magic resistant, but I'm not, it's just a natural thing I have. And I said, what? And he goes, yeah, I'm naturally magically resistant. Because if I was magically resistant, that wouldn't make any sense. And then I said, magically. And I said, that doesn't make any sense. You're right. And he said, right, by way of magic, I'm magically resistant. That's another way of saying it. Still not possible. And I said, well, usually it's more of like a counter spell. And Kirk said, it's just, who I am. Just the way it is, baby. And I said, okay, well. And I said, what do you want to do? He goes, I want to go down to this pub, the one pub in town. He goes, because maybe somebody knows something. And I said, well, this doesn't sound like a great idea. And he said, let's go. We got to get to the bottom of this. And I said, this already feels like we're at the bottom, Kirk. And so we go to this pub, the town bar. I mean, it's a bar, pub. I guess it serves food, so it's a pub. I don't know if that makes it a pub or a tavern. And Kirk says, I'm here to offer a reward. And first he looks around. He tries to see if anybody has any livestock. And I say, this is a livestock-free bar. And your cafe is probably one, too. He goes, okay. But then he says, yeah, I have an announcement to make. And apparently Kirk has quite the reputation, not just at my inn, but everywhere. Because he says, yeah, I want to know, I'm offering a reward for whoever let livestock into my cafe. And everyone laughs because they already knew about it, I guess. And then they cheer. They start going. It was a dream, but they were cheering for the livestock, like it was a sports team. Even though it's really long, they said, "Give me an L, give me an I, give me a V, give me an E, give me an S, give me a T, give me an O, give me a C." Give me a K. What does it spell? And then everybody goes, livestock. And they cheered. And Kirk, was like, this is embarrassing. Oh, also, I forgot to add, Kirk, George, this didn't seem important when I was telling your assistant, but in the dream, he wanted to learn how to sew. And then there's this whole thing about, Kirk came in still upset about the livestock, leaving the door. Did he leave the door open? And then George's trying to tell him to count his blessings. And he says, whoa, man. And then we kind of said, then it got really confusing because we were talking about, we all started telling him these stories of so we said, do you have a way of remembering if you close the door behind you? And he said, yeah, it's common sense. And then I said, haven't you ever heard the story of the sheep that left the barn open? And then somebody else said, no, it's a goat that left the barn open. And then George's like, no, the boy who opened the barn. And then somebody else is like, no, it was the barn that opened the door. And we're trying to tell him this story, which is supposed to be the moral of the story of always have a way to remember if you shut the door or not. Before there was technology, they could tell you that. And they go back and forth. I already had the door open. Let me left who. And then Kirk goes who let the dogs out? And they go, no, that's a song in the future. And would you believe that those were trained by those dogs that are in the future? They were trained by one of the guys from Saturday Night Live, I think. And they said, what's that? And I said, I don't know, because it's a dream, I said, what is going on here? And then we go back and forth. I said, well, the moral of the story is always double check your door is closed. And Kirk said, they're not going to pay me to clean up my place because they think I left the door open. And they said, if their magical detection system could have seen in me, they would have known if I closed the door or not. And then we're still telling the story. I don't know if it was was it the barn that took a walk? Wasn't it that story? Was it ever on that sleep podcast, the barn that opened the door? I think it was the barn door that opened the barn. I said, that doesn't make any sense either. And Kirk even says, is this a point to any of this? And I say, yeah, it's always like we just told you the point 2 minutes ago. And he said, is this some sort of metaphorical discussion? And we said, loosely it is, because we're having trouble coming up with a metaphor that you can comprehend. And then Joanne said, no, yeah, that's it. It's henny, hen, hen, henny, hen, hen, hen. And then I said, dory, door, door, dory, door, door. And then George said, goaty, goat, goat, goaty, goat, goat. And then, not Stephanie, but her cousin said, shuba, shuba, shuba. And we all started talking like that. And Kirk said, what? And then he said, can I use your phone? I need to call my mother. So he called his mother, and then he said, Mother, these people here are talking nonsense, and I like, no one believes if I shut the, how come you never taught me a method of making sure the door is shut? And she said, just common sense. Everybody shuts the door. What are you, a barn door? And he said, what do you mean? And she said, don't you know the story of the barn door? And he goes, no. And she goes, what, and then he hangs up the phone. And that was like, and then I woke up. Oh, interesting, Bob. I was really thinking that Kirk is an edgy character in my dreams. Okay, Bob. Well, do you want to talk about my, I had my assistant have the same dream as you. Do you want to go through that? Then I know you had a rough week. So should we go through my assistant's version of your dream and then in the interpretation and then kind of go through it? Yeah, that sounds good. That's fine. Okay, so my assistant had a dream, which they entitled The Boy Who Cried Goat. Okay, great. And in this dream, it's you're in your dream, you're running in and it's bustling with quirky guests. And there's a backdrop of whimsy. Interesting. I don't know how you have a backdrop of whimsy. Okay, and first what happens is a young boy comes in from the town and he claims he's seen a goat wandering the halls of your inn in the evenings. And everybody says, this is a boy who cried goat. And then after a time in the inn, everybody starts noticing things at night, like a goat walking, your tin cans chewed up, even those goat sounds, like not buying, but whatever the goat makes. And then everybody turns into like Sherlock Holmes looking for goats. But at first, everybody thinks it's something else. But the boy's like, yeah, that's the goat of the night. But no one's seen a goat. And we said, if there was a goat, there'd be goat droppings, kid. And he said, what do you think the tin can is? So then you, Dick Loudon, decide to stay up and try to catch the goat. Get the boy's goat, as they say. And you discover it's not just any goat, but it's a goat from last time you dreamed, Larry, Daryl, and Daryl's goat, whose name escapes me. And the goat had been sneaking back into the inn because it missed you. But instead of sending the goat away, you start to host a goat night at the inn, which is kind of like a conference about goats, but festive. Where you talk about, you have goat experts, Vermont's greatest goats, kind of thing. And then you learn about trust because the boy gets, he becomes the symbol of the goat night. because his goat it wasn't his goat that got gotten, but you know what I'm saying? And the goat becomes like kind of the mascot of the inn. Oh, okay. So that was the dream my assistant simulated in your honor. Great. That would be interesting, I guess. Okay, so I talked to my assistant, Bob, and I wanted to run through my assistant's discoveries here. So the first thing was about hiding your figs under your pancakes and not eating your figs. And my assistant said Freudian interpretation would be resistance and acceptance. The figs are got to be representative of something in your waking life, but that's good for you, but you refuse to accept. And this could be emotional or physical aspects of your life. Who knows? You're unconsciously avoiding something. Jung would say the figs are a representative part of your shadow, some element of your inner self that you're unaware of. Now, your wife's insistence might be the conscious mind trying to reconcile these ignored or repressed aspects. And yeah, modern interpretation might be that you're avoiding something that you might think is unpleasant, even though it's beneficial. Could also be Virgo's influence. Traits of meticulousness and stubbornness could be at play between what's good for you and your personal preferences. Now, when we get into the kind of the out-of-box ideas, Bob, this is where I feel like we really excel. The figs could be a time capsule. What if each fig on your plate was a flashback to a past event, and your refusal to eat them symbolizes a reluctance to revisit past decisions? That kind of, okay, I can hear that, yeah. What if it's some sort of magical realism? The figs have the power to alter reality. Each fig could alter your aspects of your life or your perceptions. Like figs is, yeah. What if the figs talk and they offer advice or wisdom, turning breakfast into a surreal conversation about life? Will that be strange? What if the figs were a humorous scene of negotiation where figs are currency? Or what if each pancake with a hidden fig becomes a portal to another world with adventures to teach you lessons about life and happiness? Interesting. What if there was a rebellion in Flavortown and the figs, they become sentient figs and they lead an uprising with other breakfast foods? I would I was unaware I lived in Flavortown, but I don't know. Who would they be rising against? Guy? I don't know, Bob. That's a great question. Then the thing with Kirk singing "Don't Cry Out Loud" and then the livestock. Okay, Freud would say this is related to chaos and control. Livestock are uncontrollable forces or chaotic aspects of your subconscious, and then structured or commercial areas of your life are the cafe. Could be a shadow coming up, invading livestock aspects of the shadow, unacknowledged or wild parts of your psyche, encroaching on public or conscious parts. Could also just be overwhelm, maybe too many responsibilities. And Kirk's dramatic entrance intensifies these emotions. I kind of identify with that one. What about some out-of-the-box things? What if there's a musical message in Kirk's song choice, which offers a clue? Don't cry out loud. Maybe this is about keeping emotions in check or masking feelings in challenging situations. Oh, whoa, okay. What if livestock is a symbol of things that need attention? tasks you've forgotten about or relationships. Okay. Could be a surreal rescue. You and Kirk lead a surreal musical rescue to save the cafe from metaphorical livestock, which could represent maybe Kirk's having a tough time making ends meet. Could also be a historical reenactment, the livestock harkening back to a bygone era, reflecting traditional versus modern challenges in your life. What if it was some sort of animal, leadership? The livestock are there, and it becomes a whimsical, governance setting where they lay out the governance of the area, and it becomes a reflection on chaos management. Okay. Could also be transformational magic. What if the livestock mysteriously transform into people that will patronize the cafe? And that hints at the transformative potential of embracing chaos. Okay, a couple of those did help me, I guess. Okay, then my assistant really pointed out the carrying up of the inn, carrying over the threshold tradition. And let's see, Freudian, it could be possessiveness and protection, the desire for control or protectiveness in your relationship, or worry about dependency and support. Oh, wow. It could be an anima projection from Jung, your feminine aspect, could be an elevation of the anima within yourself, a growing of sensitivity, empathy, and nurturing. Commitment and responsibility. Maybe themes of commitment and responsibility that come with it. It could be burdens or joys of being in a committed relationship. Okay. What about out of the box stuff? What if it was a levitation and not caring? The groom was in the bride, or the groom is levitating the bride. And this symbolizes a relationship that defies traditional boundaries. Okay. And then also in the same vein, what if it's an invisible bond? And she's floating, I guess, which is similar to levitating, representing an invisible support system that exists in relationships. Okay. So this is really, are you just humoring me, Bob? No, this is good. Okay, it could be about an eternal honeymoon. What if each door in your inn is a different honeymoon destination, and each destination reflects a journey through various stages of a relationship? Okay. Could be musical choreography. What if instead of carrying, then they start to dance and then other guests join in, and it becomes a musical about romantic commitment? Those sound like more dreams than interpretation. They do, Bob, but, my assistant's supposed to be out there. What if it's a historical echo? This is a historical tradition of ancient marriage rites. I guess it is, yeah. What if it's cosplay, like they dress in different figures from the past as they move through the inn, representing the journey of their past relationships to the present? Okay, I guess, and not so much, but yeah. All right, let's do the tongue twister thing where you couldn't only speak. So communication frustrations from Freud. Maybe this is some internal conflict about communication. Could be. And maybe there's something you're struggling to express clearly, or you're misunderstood. Jung might look at it as there's a disconnect between your inner self and how you express yourself in the world. And the tongue twisters might symbolize complex thoughts or emotions that you're finding it hard to articulate. Okay. What if it's about like social situations, especially when you're collaborating, and some concern with that? Okay. Okay, out of the box ideas. What if this is some sort of magical language, and there's a mischievous spirit trying to make every attempt to communicate into a puzzle? It could be beings from another world that are testing your adaptability by altering your speech patterns and then seeing your reaction to communication barriers. Interesting. Could it be a mystical spell gone wrong? Maybe you were trying to cast a spell or Kirk was, and then it was miscast. Could be. What if this is your path to become like a riddle creator? And each tongue twister you speak is a riddle that others must solve. And those riddles help repair the Kirk's restaurant. Could be dimensional speech shift, where you shift into a parallel dimension where language is only tongue twisters. Or wordplay wizardry. What if there's an ancient book of wordplay that was only written in tongue twisters? Okay. I mean, this kind of goes into this dream of the magical suit or magical robe and hat. Freud would say about that, truth and deception. This could be internal conflict about honesty and deceit. And the magical attire is like how you gauge truthfulness in yourself and others, or being perceived as truthful. While Freud and your assistant are on it tonight. Could be young archetypal symbols of truth, and your experience in the dream could signify a journey towards self-discovery and confronting your own truths. Or it could be integrity and authenticity, and trying to maintain authenticity in difficult situations. And maybe Kirk's counter to the magic reflects a perceived or real ability to resist external pressure. Could be part of a truth-revealing ritual. I mean, I guess it was, but that goes beyond factual honesty, something deeper. Could be a magical dance-off because Kirk countered the magic. And maybe he's going against personal power and societal expectations. Maybe there's some sort of external council of elders who use these magical garments not just for truth, but for to discover who you are. Transformational challenge, maybe where you confront your own mirrored truths in a dreamlike challenge. Could be some sort of truth discovery. I guess or portals to the past. My assistant does love portals. What if they're portals to the past? It's strange your sister hasn't come up with any of that. It's like a simulation or anything. I did like, though, the beings from another world testing things. Yeah, so did I. Okay, then there's the bar and the bar cheering. Maybe it's, Freud would say it's repressed desires and social acceptance, like approval of breaking norms versus the chaos of livestock. Maybe shadow and the collective unconscious. Maybe the bar is a shadow aspect of the community. Primal, unexpected parts are expressed. And maybe the cheering is just a release of repressed desire. But maybe it's about group dynamics and conformity. The influence of peer approval, human tendency to conform to group norms, could be mystical revelations. The bar is a gateway to a mystical world. Time loop paradox. There you go, Bob. This, what if this is part of a time loop and the patrons are aware and cheer because they're enjoying the spectacle? It could be some sort of spirit celebration. Maybe there's other residents that are visible only in the bar, from other time periods, and they're cheering the livestock because it's a symbolic act against modern constraints and rebellious. I mean, what if the animals again take over and have governance? Could be an interactive play where you and Kirk are characters and the bar patrons are actors who cheer, and it's just a scripted event. Maybe the bar is a psychic hotspot where emotional echoes from past events are felt. The cheering is just an echo from the past. Okay. And then the mixed up story at the end. Okay, the mixed up story, miscommunication, and maybe it represents some sort of communication barrier or concern about communications or being misunderstood. Okay. It could be the unconscious and archetypes. The collective unconscious is distorted here. Maybe it's a communal reflection on truth and integrity. Maybe it's about social dynamics and confusion. If there's a group dynamic that led to confusion or lack of clarity, or failed attempts to convey important lessons or morals. Could also be part of a storytelling contest with twists, where each person adds a twist to the story, like something you just do at the end. Could be a memory warp field. A mystical field causes a temporary memory warp, and then no one can keep their story straight. You could have all been inside a linguistic jumble machine, which is a device that was invented at the end to scramble words as they're spoken, to be amusing. What if the end was an echo chamber where words, like there was a strange echo effect where words are just bouncing and distorting? But this reflects the distortion of messages in the media or public discourse. Could be a parable of misinterpretation. This is good, though, Bob. Each person's confused version reflects their own personal biases and misconceptions. And the inn is a stage for exploring subjective realities. Wow, that hits home. Could be a mystical realism rewrite where we're transforming history. Wow, it's great. Yeah. All right, Bob, well, why don't you tell me about your week and we can kind of see where we're at. Okay. So I was just finishing up with a client who collected Twinkies, and we had been working together because she spent a lot of money. You mean Hostess Twinkies, Bob? I do. Like she had she's just like found something. She, it became a talisman for her. She was collecting Twinkies, spending a lot of money on Twinkies. I mean, she would also, she didn't consume the Twinkies, but she would consume them in ways like squeeze them, hold them, buy them, see, open them and have them around. Like she would go to a store and buy all the Twinkies. So we had worked our way through it. I don't want to get into her personal journey. But she was finally had found what the Twinkies were doing for the Twinkie collection was doing for her. And then she said, wow, I never thought I'd, she replaced her thing, which I didn't realize it till at the end of the session. She replaced her thing with Twinkies for a thing for me. And she said, I'd like to spend a lot more time with you, Robert, Dr. Hartley, she called me. And she used the L word and yeah. And I explained to her, I said, yeah, this is the thing where this happens in these kind of sessions, right? Because this isn't real. Feels real, and I'm really here, but I'm also doing my job, which is to listen to you and help you with this Twinkie stuff. So you may have these feelings, but it's something called transference. And she was like, well, no. And then then I had another client. So I was kind of put in this tough spot, right? And I said, what am I going to do? And I said, well, I have an opening after my next session. And she said, I need to deal with this now. And I said, I'm sorry, but I already have a client waiting. And then I realized Jerry could give her a brush and a shine. So I brought her over to Jerry's office. He said, yeah, that's no problem. Jerry, did you know Jerry makes his own retainers? He makes, what do you call those? Not boutique, but I thought everything was made somewhere else. But I went in and he was working on it. He said, look at this retainer. It's a work of art. bespoke retainers. I didn't know Jerry did that, but so then she came back and I said, well, how'd it go? Like, your teeth look great. And she said, yeah, I still have these feelings though. And Jerry, heard everything and he's like, this is awkward. And I said, no, it's just transference, totally normal. And I said, okay, do you think you understand now? And she said, I think so. And so she went home and then I went home and I was wiped, because it's quite the journey. Especially because I said, wow, this is really wrapping up. So I got home. Emily was stuck in a turtleneck, and I had to help her get her head through this turtleneck. And then I was like, I'm really hungry and really tired. And she said, okay, well, we're going out to eat this new restaurant. They had no reservations. When I told them I was calling on behalf of Dr. Hartley, they found an open table. And then the phone rings and it's this client. And she says, yeah, I'm like, she goes, I'm at the store buying up all the Twinkies. I said, don't buy up all the Twinkies. And she said, well, I have strong feelings for you. And I said, yeah, but this is not real love. And Emily heard all this because I was talking openly. And she was not happy about it, obviously. And I guess we hadn't dealt with this before as a couple. And so then she said, what is this? And I said, yeah, it's common, Emily. Don't worry about it. I said, you're a teacher. Even though your students, they have a different sort of transference for you. And then Emma said, okay, well, maybe I'm just feeling jealous. Can you tell me more about her? And I said, well, she collects Twinkies. I was helping her with collecting Twinkies. And she goes, oh, wow. Okay, well, I said, don't worry about it. Let's go out to dinner. And I said, I'm in a relationship with you, not her. I love you, Emily. You're my wife. So whatever. Then this was but then next, I think it was the next day, it was Monday. So I guess that was on Friday. Weekend, nothing happened. Then Jerry's supposed to come over to my house after work. We're going to watch football together. And he comes over and we're ready to leave. And then I got a briefcase. We're ready to go to my house. And Miss Walker calls. She's like, she was there. I can't even remember anymore. I guess she was she said, can I come in right now? I'm beside myself with my feelings. This isn't transference. So I said, oh, man. And then Howard was supposed to come over. I said, listen, Jerry, just go home and check in with Emily. I'll be there. I'll just wrap. I got to try to help this person. And Emily was making knockwurst beans and sauerkraut. And then I call home and Howard's already there. And then Emily's like, I'm like, it's Mrs., it's my client. And Emily's like, I'm trying to talk to Howard and Jerry about this. I need to talk to somebody for me. I'm having feelings about this now. And she's like, your friends aren't very good to talk to. Because Howard said this is a common thing and whatever. And they're trying to cheer me up. So you need to get home. So then I'm like, okay, let me just try. I'm trying to do my job too. And I guess I kind of feel bad about it. In some sense, I was putting my profession, I was having trouble with these boundaries. And, it's okay, Bob. So then I get home, and as soon as I get home, it's awkward. So Howard and Jerry are like, good night, we're going home. And Emily's not happy. She says, it's either me or the client. And I say, well, yeah, but no, it's not me or the client, because this is going to happen again, Emily. And again, I guess I brought my work home with me in more ways than one. Cause she says, no, it's either me or the client. I can't take this. And I said, well, you got to, because this is going to happen again. And we go back and forth, and I say, it's just transference. And it's happened before. And she goes, what do you mean it's happened before? And I said, yeah, this is a common thing. Like, it's kind of like I'm a rock star. And she goes, well, I didn't marry a rock star. And I said, listen, I said, I want you to, maybe you should, and I kind of said that she needed to work on herself. So then she was not happy with me. And so I guess these dreams are really trying to tell me that my communication is lacking. Because then what happened was Emily we were supposed to eat lunch together. I forgot that it was like at the same time as another appointment with this client. But the good news is the client had kind of gotten through it. So then Emily, she came out of my office and I said, oh, it's nice for you two to meet one another. And she said, yeah, I'm doing great. Really happy. Like, I have no Twinkies and my marriage is going great. So she had gotten to the other side of the transference. But I guess I was kind of left with this sense that Emily was pleased because in a sense it was fixed. But I think in the dream it was like that my communication was lacking. And yeah, this whole thing was a little bit of chaos. And when it happens, it is chaos because it just comes out of nowhere. And it's like, did I leave the door open? Or kind of like I was like Kirk, or was the door closed and someone let the dog, the livestock in? But where I could have done better is my communication with my wife about this whole thing. And it seems like, are you sleeping? Oh, sorry, Bobby, I fell asleep. Okay, that's okay. Yeah, I could just finish talking and then you rest and then I'll rest. Okay, Bob, that's great. Okay, so yeah, I was just thinking that in a sense, the dream was saying to me, maybe you could do a little bit better, Bob, and maybe just take some time and practice your communication at home, but less controlling of my wife and more letting her on her journey, but also just accepting these are ups and downs that are not necessarily great, but I just have to roll with them. So yeah, I guess I'm putting myself to sleep too. Good night, everybody. Hey, everybody, this is Scoots, and you might be the only one hearing this message right now and listening to me, and that's why I need your attention. If you're the one person hearing me, you're the reason the podcast exists here in the deep, dark night. Unless you're new, then this probably isn't the best message for you. Or you're like, yeah, I've only been listening for a couple weeks, and I'm almost done with exams, or my guest is about to leave, or my travel for work's about to end. If that's the case, don't worry about it either. The podcast exists for you too, but it really exists with the community of people that the podcast is a part of their life on a regular, ongoing basis, whose support we need back. So we're trying to get, well, I guess it doesn't really matter the number because it's just me and you here. And it's really the truth. I've been doing this a long time. And it really comes out, because here's the thing, if this message is getting through to you, if it's not getting through to you, it means it's not getting through to anybody else either. But if you're nodding your head, you're saying, yeah, this podcast makes my life better. Yeah, I want it to be here 6 months from now so I can listen to it and other people can listen to it. Yeah, actually, it's more than made my life better. I remember what it was like not to be able to sleep. And yeah, I listen on an ongoing basis. I would love some of that sweet bonus content. And yeah, either I could afford to support the show at a level where I feel comfortable and I feel like, yeah, that's the kind of value it brings me. Or yeah, I could cancel that streaming service I don't even use. I use Sleep With Me 10 times more than that streaming service, and I pay more for it. What am I doing? If you're nodding your head to all that stuff, the biggest challenge is you got to go to sleepwithmepodcast.com/plus right now, unfortunately, and interrupt your sleep. But you could set up the bonus content tomorrow, but you might be the only one. And it's only like the thing is, if I get through to you, then I have hope to get that 1,400 plus other people to support the show as well. But if you put it off, If you're like, no, somebody else will do it. Nah, I don't feel like it. Nah, I've been there. But that means, so I got to figure this out. And I love making this show. I'm not giving up on this, right? I want to keep making the podcast and bringing comfort. More people than ever need this podcast right now. And that's when it gets the toughest to make the show. And we were able to do this. We're just trying to get back to where we were in 2020. In 2021, we got there before in a tough time. So, yeah, we could use your support. If the podcast makes your life better on a regular basis, do not wait. Sign up at sleepingpodcast.com/plus. Thanks.